Hello and welcome to Africa Today. I am Esther Mokwariola. From courageous acts of protest against autocrats holding on to power to the rare disposition of defeated candidates congratulating victorious opponents, 2016 turned out to be the year when Africa witnessed both a paradigm shift and a resistance to ballot-driven change. This year, democratic process looks even more crucial, especially in Kenya, where you have the politics of tongue-lashing, the rhetorics of character bashing, and the certainty that either incumbent Uhuru Kenyatta or the main challenger Raila Odinga would emerge as the nation's president after the elections on August the 8th. And so we ask, what are your thoughts on political developments in Kenya as the countdown continues ahead of the election day? You can join the conversation and share your thoughts with us on Twitter at TVC Connect. We take a report highlighting some of the continent's top stories, and Africa Today will continue. Welcome on board.
Senegalese cast ballots in a legislative election that has brought the country's former leader, Abdoulaye Wade, back to the political scene. 91-year-old Wade was president from 2000 to 2012 when he was defeated by current president Macky Sall. He returned from France this month to campaign in the parliamentary contest, though critics accuse him of re-entering Senegalese politics to try and pave the way for his son, Karim Wade, who was released from a Qatari prison in 2016 over corruption charges. Unlike many of its West African neighbors, plagued by dictators and coups, Senegal is known for its political stability. Nigeria's military has been ordered to strengthen its response to Boko Haram after 69 people were killed in an ambush earlier last week, the government said on Sunday. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo held emergency talks with top brass to discuss Tuesday's attack, which targeted an oil exploration team in the northeastern state of Borno. Boko Haram published a video of the trio on Friday night, in which they appealed to Osinbajo to meet their abductors' demands. Nigeria's military has long maintained the group, which in 2014 held territory across northeast Nigeria, is all but defeated as a result of its sustained counter-insurgency. An unknown gunman attacked the home of Kenyan Deputy President William Ruto in Nairobi. The lone intruder who managed to enter the home of Kenya's Deputy President was killed more than 18 hours after he wounded a police guard with a machete and then killed another with a stolen rifle, Kenya's police chief said on Sunday. Although Ruto was not injured, he had left to campaign with President Uhuru Kenyatta for re-election at the time the intruder gained entry into his premises. Analysts have been worried that violence might accompany Kenya's August the 8th presidential election, as the stakes are very high for the candidates. Kenya experienced arguably its worst episode of violence 10 years ago after a December 2007 presidential election that international observers said was flawed. More than 1,000 people died and 600,000 were evicted from their homes.
Welcome back. Now, more than 19 million eligible voters are expected to cast their ballots on August the 8th to pick a president. And among 18 candidates competing for the country's top position, President Uhuru Kenyatta is seeking a second and final term in office, while Raila Odinga, who lost to Kenyatta in 2013, remains the main contender. Joining me in the studio on Africa Today, I have Alester Wilcox, policy expert and political analyst in Nigeria. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much, Esther. It's nice having you again.
And on phone, I have Sekou Toure Otondi, a doctorate research student at the Department of Political and Public Administration, University of Nairobi in Kenya. Good to have you as well on the program.
Thank you so much, and Thank you for having me on the show as well.
Right, let me begin the show with you now, Lester. How much of it really is at stake in the elections in Kenya, knowing that it doesn't just concern the nation, but we're looking at the region and Africa as well?
Well, for me, Kenya is big. This present election in Kenya, from every watcher, is wanting to take the dangerous dimension of other African elections. And really, the stakes are so high here because it's not like a personality thing between the two main contenders. Talking about the President Uhuru and then the main challenger,
Raila
Odinga. Odinga has lost about 2 elections now from the 2007 election that created violence. And so this may look like a make or break elections for him. So he's going all out. And of course, Uhuru Kenyatta too, who is trying to seek a second mandate, will also not want to let in because this is his second and final mandate. Power is sweet, and so nobody wants to leave power. But the truth of the matter is, Kenya had reached out to a stable polity. Not stable as in the word totally stable, but they've been able to manage themselves and has been having this progression in terms of democratic dispensation. But since after 2007, the game changed. When the tribal affiliations and other tribal issues set in seriously, and of course we know what happened in 2007, and that was carried over to 2013, 2012 election, and now it looks like a make or break situation for the 2 contending candidates. And like you said, they're not the only the candidates in the race. There are about 18 of them. But the 2 front runners, if you listen to every social media, everywhere, you're in the Rainbow Coalition or the other coalition.
Orange
That's that is all that you hear about. And that means it is real a do or die for the 2 candidates.
All right, now, Otonde, if you can hear me, if this is a do or die for the 2 candidates, how would you assess the preparedness of the electoral body to ensure that the elections doesn't go the other way around?
Okay, thank you so much. Looking at the election body, which is known as the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, I think the opposition has been litigating a lot on the events that the IEBC has been undertaking. And I think so far there was a ruling at first, which was either tallying being at the polling, the constituency level, or tallying being done at the national level. I think that was when the opposition went to court, they managed to win that, and I think the court agreed that polling has to be done at the constituency level, the final polling result. So again, if you look at the other litigation has been on the issue of the company that is mandated to print which was given the tender to print the ballot papers. I think there was also a struggle on that, and I think the opposition went to court to try to say that it was more closely allied to Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the incumbent. So I think the IEBC appealed that decision, and the ballot papers are being printed, and I think some of them are coming into the country this week in preparation for August 8th. So I think the IEBC, in a way, I think it's, I can't give it like 100%, say 100% totally prepared, but I think I can say it's 50-50 for me. And I think what might show its preparedness also is at the end of how it conducts the elections, at the end of the elections, when you are doing the assessment of the electioneering. But having said that, also I think since Friday there's been an issue. One of the key cogs in the election in the IEBC process was abducted. I think it got lost. And just this morning also we heard that his body was found in a forest outside in the outskirts of Nairobi. So I think that also has undermined the faith that the IEBC has been conducting the elections. I think there are questions which have to be asked on who assassinated or murdered this key official of the IEBC. Thank you.
All right, let me hold your thoughts for now, because that is an interesting point you just raised. We need to go on a quick break. You're watching Africa Today. We'll have more discussions in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Kenya, records show how politicians have sought to manipulate every contested election through ethnic stereotyping and stoking suspicion between communities since the restoration of a multi-party system in 1992. Well, after the 2007 election, Kenya experienced its worst political violence since independence after more than 1,000 people were killed and about 600,000 were displaced. Well, before we went on break, we had Sekou Otonde revealing to us an information that clearly was making a rounds when an IT head of Kenya's election was killed and his body was found earlier today. Now, that raises some concern on the electoral body's, will I say, willingness, preparedness, again, to ensure that the elections doesn't go the other way in terms of violence, in terms of elections not being credible. Because as at the time before his death, he was working towards developing an electronic system of voting that will be free from fraud, so to speak. Now he is passed on. Does it now put a black spot, or does it now create a bit of a dent on what the Electoral Commission has been trying to do all this while, just about some few days to the election?
I think, like I said earlier, it's rather sad for me that Kenya, that had been somehow a beacon in terms of democratic credentials in Africa, is fact descending into what African democracy looks like. The run-up to this election has been very acrimonious, very, very. The other guy in Kenya talked about furious litigations. I have been following closely because I have a few friends who I interact with from Kenya. Furious litigations either by the opposition or the one that is being contested by the government and all whatnot. Furious litigation as to the processes. Now, they've been trying to see how they can develop a good process. And from a few things I read about the man that died, I would say that was murdered, was that he was somebody that wasn't prepared to compromise in terms of the credibility of the election. So he is the head of IT, and he was going all out to develop, like you said, a system that will make the election, the process, very credible. And of course, you can see what's at stake. Now, electoral bodies all over Africa has never been totally free from government interference, almost of the day. It takes some courage from people to be able to emasculate themselves out of it. In Nigeria, we are lucky with the 2015 election that somebody like Jega came in and tried to emasculate himself out of the grip of government. Now, the Kenya, the IEBC has, I don't know to what extent they've been able to do that, emasculate themselves from, because all the litigations that have been going on is either for or against or suspicion about the operation and everything. And again, the duty of the security agencies. Now, security agencies has never been free, has never been neutral in Africa. That has always been the case. They are always at the whims, and because Africa lacks these trusted institutions that will ensure that things are done the way they're supposed to be done. But that is lacking up to today. Maybe apart from South Africa. Most African countries, the government in power still have enormous control of this, and of course, who provide the security? It's the security agencies. This young man will have been, with the kind of sensitive position he was handling, should have maximum security around him, because he is in a very, very strategic and in a very acrimonious processes. And this is someone that was trying to lend credence to make the process so credible for everybody to see that this process is credible. And look at how he was just kidnapped and murdered. So that already has cast a dent. Because right now, whatever the outcome is, that reference will be made. That look, this is what happened. And of course, where would the accusing finger point to? Nowhere else than the government. All
right, let me quickly bring in Otonde. Otonde, now, what are the chances of a repeat of the 2007 violence, that is, post-election violence? Do you think that there might be a repeat of that following, reports you just heard?
Okay, thank you. I think looking at there's a difference between 2017, the environment under which we are taking under going into the elections in 2017 compared to 2007. So the reason why I'm saying so is if you look at 2007, we had an old constitution which it didn't provide more emphasis on institutions like the court systems or even in the independent institutions such as the Electoral Commission. But then if you look at this year, in 2017, we're going into the second election under the new constitution, which was in 2010. So I think there's been a lot of tension, there's a lot of high stakes in this particular election. But the institutions which are existing right now, I think they are going to be tested, heavily. And I think based on 2007 and given the ethnic animosities or ethnic divide that has taken place between 2013 all the way to 2017, I think they might flow over from the social media networks as we see them, like inciting statements on social media sites, and they might flow out into the mainstream. And I think that is quite likely that there might be violence in the 2017 election.
But what can be done to, forestall this from reoccurring, knowing that the people really want peace in the land?
Yeah, the ordinary Kenyans, I think, have no problem at all, because all the same. They've always, since I think 2007, 2013, even coming into 2017, I think ordinary Kenyans go out and vote. But I think what lets them down is the institutions, most of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. If it lets them down and the elections maybe aren't credible, because what you don't want is peace. You want credible elections, because out of credible elections then comes peace. So I think it's better that we preach about credibility and free and fair elections than preaching about peaceful elections, because automatically if you have a credible, fair and free election, then the country will be peaceful. So I think the honors right now remains with the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, as well as the other institutions which are mandated to take the election. So that I think there might be violence if the elections aren't seen by one side as being free and fair and more so credible. All
right, let's move away from the credibility of the polls come August the 8th. Let's look at the two major contenders now, talking about Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. Kenyatta, well, he is seeking a second term, and Raila Odinga has always been challenging the elections whenever it comes. Now, an opinion poll was conducted, and that was according to the Center for African Progress, that's in Kenya, and this opinion poll tipped Kenyatta to win by 53%. We've had polls like this in other countries. We saw it in France, though it went the same way, but it wasn't like that for the United States. And now we have it for Kenya. Do you think the polls are anything to go by?
Well, the polls may be something to go by, because if it was conducted with an open mind and a non-tribal and a non-political organization that has the credibility and the technology and the competency to conduct polls, one will not be surprised if Uhuru Kenyatta is being tipped to win the election. He is the sitting president.
And he's the youngest.
And I don't think he has done too badly. But you see, beyond that, you see, this whole rivalry between the Kenyatta and the Odinga, dating back to their fathers. The Raila Odinga's father contested and never won. And now his son is now wanting to take, and of course the son will want to break that jinx. Let's not look as if that the Odingas are perpetual electoral failure. So that is why I can understand why he's. But sincerely, taking at the polls might be okay. But like you said, polls are polls, and we saw what happened between Trump and Hillary Clinton. When all the polls gave it to Clinton, the outcome was different. You know what happened in Brexit? All the polls gave it to the state campaign, and then the election was different. So polls are neither here nor there. But the important thing is either polls, no polls, Raila Odinga or Uhuru Kenyatta, just like the second has just said, the average Kenyan should know that the ambition of Raila Odinga, nor the ambition of Uhuru Kenyatta does not worth their blood. In 2007, over 1,000 people were killed. Who are they? Raila Odinga's child, daughter, brother, sister is not there. It is the average day-to-day Kenyan that is eking at a living and is being brainwashed on this tribalistic. Of course, it's only tribal assimilation that could create all kind of nonsense. Rivalry. So my position is the fact that Kenyans must come back to that. Just like we speak to Nigerians each time there's an election. Who will die? It's you, your children, your brother, your sister. None of those actors, their brothers, sister, family members will be there.
Be involved.
None of them. But rather it is the average Kenyan that is that has no access to power. Even if Raila Odinga loses the election, he's not going to be poorer than her. He might even be richer. You never can tell what has behind the scene. So The polls, yes, have given to Uhuru. But of course, on that election day, this is now telling that Raila Odinga need to work harder to convince more people. And of course, also to put Uhuru Kenyatta on the toe that, look, I have the edge. I need to also work harder to maintain that edge. So that, like he said, when you have a free and fair process, that even the blind will say, this is fair. And I'm not sure anybody want to carry arms against the other. All
right, Otonde, let's wrap up. Let's conclude with you now. What would you anticipate come August the 8th in the elections between the two contenders?
Sorry?
What would you anticipate come August the 8th?
On the August 8th, I think either of the two candidates, I will have to say, because this election is quite close, and I think on the August 8th, I think it will depend also, like I said earlier, on the IBC, and also I hope the government won't interfere because they have the preponderance of the incumbency. So I hope that they won't use that to manipulate or try to influence the voting, how it comes out. But one thing I must agree with my colleague over there what she just said is that polls are polls. And I think if you look at the recent polls, the most recent polls on the presidential election, I think they're conflicting because there's one opinion poll which was called Infotrax. It gave Mr. Odinga a higher lead. And then it gave, there's another poll which was the Ipsos Synovate. It gave Uhuru Kenyatta lead. Anyway, what I think will happen on 8th August, I think will be based on the voter turnout and also the ability of the candidates, the two main rival candidates in this election, to try to mobilize their supporters to come out and vote. But Kenya being an Kenya being that people vote on ethnic lines, I think it's more like a 50-50 chance. But I think we can't actually tell who will win at this particular point. So,
all right.
But based on, yeah, thank you.
All right, let's leave it at that for now. Thanks a lot for your thoughts. Sekou Toure Otonde, doctorate research, a student at the Department of Political Science, Public Administration in the University of Nairobi. We appreciate your thoughts on the program. So let's wrap up the show with you now, Alester. The elections very, very shortly will be, the people will go out to decide. But from all you've said, what do you think should be the main focus of whoever wants to lead Kenya for the next 4 years?
5 years.
Okay, 5 years,
yes.
Yeah.
The important thing is to try to build bridges across all divides. Kenya, like Nigeria, has had this ethnic rivalry all along between the Kukuyis and the Luo, the Kishis. I mean, there have been these ethnic rivalries. It predates back. But unfortunately, the 2007 episode widened the gap. And after Uhuru Kenyatta won 2013 election, 12 election, I don't think he did much to heal that ethnic divide. I don't think they have challenges in terms of corruption that we have here.
Well, they do.
They do. The type, I'm talking of the type.
The magnitude, right?
Yeah, the type that we have here. Yes, of course, every African leader is corrupt, but it depends on the magnitude. And I also don't think that they have this tribalistic attitude towards development and appointment of key ministers and all. I don't know how there is structure. But I think it is better that you reach out to whoever is a loser with an open hand. Trying to form a government nationality may not be the best approach, but I think that it's something that we're giving a trial. I salute the Kenyans because they've been a stable country, less military. There has not been military intervention and all. They've been a stable country. They've been progressively going forward. I mean, and developing in a sustainable pace. Yes. So elections should not be a source of bloodshed because, like I stated, no ambition of any of the principal contenders is what life of any average Kenyan. And so, and this too in other African countries. Ghana has gotten it right. It is the same African country. I was talking about where institutions are strong. The Ghana electoral institution is very strong. And they've gotten it right. You see, after Ghana election, do you see any litigation? No, because they've gotten it right. So it behoves on the Electoral Commission of Kenya to also, within this short piece of time, yes, they've lost a key staff that is committed to his job.
But they should get it right.
They need to now wake up and say, look, this is a challenge to us. This is a challenge that the world is looking at on us for us to do something different and get it right, so that when a result is out, whoever is the winner will be seen, even by the opponent, that yes, this was the winner, and Africa was better off for it.
All right, thanks a lot. Alester Wilcox, policy expert and political analyst here with us in the country, Nigeria. We appreciate all you've said on Africa today.
Thank you very much.
Well, at a point in time when the noise of politics can easily drown out the voice of common sense, the stakes are visibly high, trust is arguably low, as all it will take for Kenya to arrive at the other side in one piece seems to hang on the balance of hope and prayer. With the world watching with keen interest to see how it all pans out, the 2017 polls in Kenya is another litmus test for the country's legal framework and institutional capability to effectively hold free, fair, credible and peaceful elections. And that is our package for today. But don't forget to join the conversation as usual on Twitter at TVC Connect, and also follow me for updates around Africa at Esther TVC News. Until the next one, I am Esther Mokwariola. Bye for now.